I really hate podcast tutorials. They either think you're a glue-sniffing mongoloid who's never used a computer.
Once you've selected the right microphone, you want to actually do an audio test.
Make sure that you're not peaking, which means that your audio is too loud, or that it's too low. That will mess up your editing and post-production.
Or they think you're the kind of person who wants to drop $1,000 on a mic and audio interface setup. My biggest problem by far is the lack of info on podcasts for more than 2 people. The whole reason I wanted to start a podcast was to shoot the shit with my friends, and I didn't want to buy a $300 audio interface and spend $400 on mics. But according to every YouTube tutorial, that was really the only way to do it. I don't want my podcast audio to make engineers come, I really just want it to sound listenable. And if that's the situation you find yourself in, then I got you. This video is going over the basics. So equipment, how to set up the room you record in, how to make the audio not hurt your ears, and how to upload. This is how to start a multi-person podcast on a budget. Timestamps will be below. First, the mic. This is what's gonna get me crucified by literally every audiophile on the planet, but if you're just getting started, get one USB microphone. High-end shows will have setups with XLR mics and an audio interface, but if you're watching this video, that's not you. XLR mics are great if you're trying to only capture one person that's in front of it. This makes them what we like to call a dynamic microphone. However, what you're going to be looking for is a condenser microphone, which is most USB mics. This means that they plug directly into your computer without having to go through an audio interface. They can run you anything from $10 to $200, but a good rule of thumb is that you get what you pay for in terms of sound quality. The podcast I'm recording on records 4 to 5 people in general, and has an Audio-Technica AT2020 USB, which works great. That normally costs around $120, but if you want to just record and aren't too worried about the sound quality, you can go from anything that's $25 and up. Lower than that, and you might get something that's legitimately inaudible.
Everyone has Uno, dipshit. It came free with your fucking Xbox.
Besides, once you start making money off your podcast, you can upgrade to a better setup. Yeah, sure. You may start thinking, oh, well, why not just buy 4 USB mics and be able to mic up everyone? And the answer to that is that your computer sound chip is really bad at handling any more than 1 USB mic at a time. That's why the fancy podcasts need to buy audio interfaces to hook all their mics into. You can run a max of 2 USB mics, but in my experience, the quality drop is bad enough that it's better just to adjust your room to get everyone to sound audible. Speaking of your room settings, this, weirdly enough, is probably the most important part. Because you're going to be recording with one audio track, the way that you set up your room is key to making sure the sound is even remotely listenable. First, find a place where you can all sit around the mic. This can be like a table or a ring of couches, but finding a place with furniture is better because it stops echoes from echoing. Also, take note of any leather couches that make noise when you move on it, because that shit will get picked up by the recording. If you're in a place that sounds like a warehouse and you can't find anywhere else to record, try putting blankets in the corners of the room, because that's where most of the sound gets picked up and gets super echoey. But that's probably more of a try-hard last resort than anything. Learn where the front of your mic is, and then learn who has the most obnoxiously loud voice in your group and put them on the sides of it. Again, you're doing one audio track, so anyone being crazy quiet will make the process of editing 1,000 times longer. Get them to sit in the front of the mic and tell them to speak the hell up. Now press record in GarageBand or Audacity or whatever and run the test where everyone talks to see if you can hear them, and also make sure that the program you choose is actually recording through your microphone and not your computer's built-in mic. Believe it or not, this happens a lot more than you think. Also, make sure to put your computer on the ground or somewhere away from the microphone, because that shit is going to pick up the fan while it's running. Once that's done, hit record and talk about whatever stupid banal shit that you and your friends want to podcast about. If your computer is the one that's recording, save the file once you're done, and if you're getting the audio sent to you, have a friend export it in a .wav file and send it through Google Drive. This file format's big as hell, but gives you the most audio data to work with while you're editing. Now that you have your awful podcast, we're going to tweak it a bit before you add fart sound effects or whatever you're going to put in. If you listen back to your audio, you may notice that you pick up a lot of background bumping of tables, and the audio itself is mad fucking quiet. And here's how to fix them both. In GarageBand, double-click the track and go to the EQ tab that's now at the bottom. If you and your friends stayed perfectly still and didn't make any background noise, you don't really need to do this, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. You're going to want to slide this bar down like this. This is going to get rid of ultra low noises that get picked up, and it may affect how someone sounds if they have a really low voice, but my friends and I sound like we haven't hit puberty yet, so it hasn't really been a problem. Go through and adjust it to where you can't hear table kicks and don't overdo it. Next, to fix the volume. The 2 sliders that'll help you do that are the gain on the side here and the slider on the track here. I found that using one of these doesn't do a lot, but using them in combination makes it sound a lot louder. The setting works best for me if you drag the gain slider up to around a 10 to 15, and the slider up here as far as it can probably go. This will vary depending on a lot of things, so listen to the softest and loudest parts of your audio to determine if you like it, and if not, play around with these sliders a little bit more.
If this podcast ends today, and this is the last episode, I just want the message to be that mothers are cowards. If this podcast ends today, and this is the last episode, I just want the message to be that mothers are cowards.
You may notice that in a lot of louder parts, like laughing and yelling, it sounds a bit crunchy, I guess, and that's what's called peaking. The thing that's going to get rid of this is turning down the gain, probably. But if you can't get the volume to a satisfactory level and eliminate the peaking, you're just going to have to view that as a consequence of recording on a $25 setup as opposed to a $1,000 one. Now edit in other shit like getting rid of moments where no one's talking, bleeping out names, or adding a ton of terrible free beats into the intro. And export your episode. I put mine into a folder with other episodes. It's not super necessary, but I'm the kind of guy who likes to alphabetize my Pokemon cards, so I need to do this in order to not go insane. And after that, you're ready for the world to cringe at your episode. There are a lot of podcast hosting sites, but the one we use is Anchor FM, which has been pretty great thus far, honestly. Make an account and learn how to upload your abomination of a podcast for the world to see. Congrats, you now have a piece of audio that you'll regret distributing in 5 years' time. Honestly though, podcasting is just super fun if you're doing it with friends. And this is something that should be used as a time to shoot the shit and hang out, so don't take it too seriously. I hope this helped you make something that sounds remotely listenable. And if you like hearing my shrill, high-pitched voice, go check out my friends and I's podcast called The Brown Bricks Podcast in the links below. Now if you excuse me, I'm gonna go get attacked by audiophiles in the comments.